Hello, hello, hello. Is this on? This on? We are indeed ready and rolling. Uh, I'm the Colonel. This is Factorio, 1000X. We have flamethrowers. We have defended the area most likely to receive attacks. As we can see, pollution is encroaching. It will get there eventually, and we will start sustaining attacks. This should be sufficient. 2 lines of guns, flamers, dragon's tooth. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I mean, there's nothing super special about my defenses here. We have the leading edge of the dragon's tooth sits just inside the range of a turret, a flamer turret. It will fire the minute they hit that circle, and they'll sort of, their pathfinding logic will slam into the leading edge of that, causing them to slow down, causing them to sit in a growing pool of fire. As they push in further guys will take aim. I think it's a good design. I've used a design similar, nothing with this many dragon's teeth, let me tell you. I would not recommend setting this up by hand. We're gonna save the dragon's tooth setup for bots later. You can see these other walls where it looks like I'm not. Well, I haven't done this one yet. This is the blueprints, but as you can see on this wall, which isn't facing any immediate attacks, I have no dragon's tooth because it's not really necessary. Any enemies at the moment that might encounter this wall will be expansion parties that will be relatively small. We have a while. Diffusion of pollution is nerfed by about 50% for this playthrough. I mean, the reasoning why should be obvious, but in order to make our lives easier here at the start, we like it. Well, anyway, I think we had just finished. Been doing some stuff off stream. While setting up a bunch of this stuff, I let 2 flame damage upgrades go through. Refined flammables 1 and 2. They're somewhat unnecessary, you might say. The nice thing about these is that they both push your flamethrower damage up by 20%, so you get a total of 40% damage increase for about, well, for 300,000 science packs. Just to compare, if we look at the damage increases, you get, I guess you do get an effective 20% because you're increasing ammo and turret. I never thought about it that way, so maybe it's similar in cost. We won't be getting explosives. I do need to work on those. I really want warehouses before I set up trains. So I have train tech. Have not begun using trains yet. I've been having some ruminations about how I want to do this. Because I could move on to trains right now. And I think what I want to do right at the moment is I'm going to fill out my defenses, not the dragon's tooth or wall or whatever, just the turrets, just so that we have protection for the full base. And then I think we move on to trains, right? I think we do it. We kind of have to. Well, we are researching the prerequisites for blue science. Those two being pretty darn expensive time-wise. It's a lot of packs, but pretty short. Like most of the science pack text, that's very small in comparison. Well, let's just take a look, just so we can see the scale of what, in order to help us decide whether we set up trains as a sort of a next priority, or we attempt to get to bots for the purposes of convenience. Yeah, I mean, the main consideration is, do we want to set up a train network, or do we want to set up more belts? I mean, at the moment, our belts are wild. I mean, you get these, what look like buses, but it's all ore. It's actually horribly inefficient. The throughput is crazy inefficient. Obviously, up until this point, it's been what we have. Trains are great, but they take setup time, and all the extra time I had up to this point has been spent getting ready for defenses and building infrastructure. I did have to add more power, quite a bit more. We fell into a couple of brownout death loops. Luckily, none of them, in my case, none of them will ever be fatal. I used burner inserters on the steam furnaces, so they will keep going, albeit at slower and slower rates. I guess that will stop eventually. Just it'll take a lot longer than the normal power death loops. You have electric inserters feeding your steam boilers, and the minute the power dips, then they don't get as much coal, and then they die almost immediately. Very quickly. With burner inserters, it takes a bit longer because you can continue getting power as long as there's coal on the belt. But anyway, yeah. So let's look at blue science product. We're gonna go by belt 1 for right now. And you can see just how ridiculous it is. 240 assemblers just for the signs. That one. That one. That one. That one. I almost forgot how fast the scale just spirals out of control. Oh man. Oh yeah, it's basic oil processing. Good lord. Good night. Good night. Jesus. Yeah, I'm unclear on how to change the default assembler. Doesn't seem to be any way to make it stick, but pardon me. I think we have to set up trains. There's just no way to feed this much. Oh, that belt, man. It's just wild amounts. Wild. That's 6 red belts, 6 full red belts of iron ore. Yeah, 12 yellow belts. That's a lot of copper too. I mean, decent amount of coal. It's a metric ton. A metric ton of oil. Look at that. I had to run. Oh man. And look at the power cost at 150 megawatts. Yo, man. I mean, the power production I have now can produce, like, say, 400 at full bore with military science. We were pushing 250. I mean, once you go past blue science, like, you're not doing a ton of, like, blue and military. And there is military blue. I mean, explosive rocketry, we don't need that until late. Personal laser defense, laser turrets themselves. These are all things I think, laser turrets and explosive rocketry we will want eventually, but we don't necessarily need right away. And there's a tank. I fucking hate the tank anyway, so I likely won't use this as a reason to unlock it. But the tank is what gives you access to the shells. Man, that sucks. Where's the hand cannon? So I have, there it is. guess it's like I kind of need that one before I go to. I kind of not need. I kind of want that one before I go to Vulcanist. But I think we're just gonna have to do it with turrets. We can kill the small ones with turrets pretty easily. I think we have to do trainings. I don't think there's any way around it. We can do it with belts, but in order to supply that many lines, you're talking setting up at least 2 more. Because I'm thinking about whether or not we could basically fork the resources that are flowing into the military, fork them, because we'll very rarely be running both at the same time. I mean, we will eventually, we'll have to address it, but if we take that approach, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 iron lines running in to I need another 5 lines. That's at least 1 more mine, probably this one. We'll be able to provide us a full because you know, it's kind of like, because like I kind of want modules too. I want efficiency modules would do wonders for us here. I'm gonna have to build more power plant to be able to run military. Or run chemical, I mean. It's 150 megawatts using those buildings. And right now, how much overhead do we have right now? Because it's basically, it's 150 plus whatever we're at now. $370? $275? No. $275. That is with those mines not running though. So let's split the difference. Let's say with those mines running, it's 173. Add more mines, let's call it 200. Call it 200-ish plus 150 for the new factory. You're at 350. Am I actually pushing that much coal, though? This is let's call it 3 red belts. 90. Another 3 red belts. 180. Plus less than 1 red belt there. Let's just call it 200 coal per second is what we can push at the moment. 200 coal. Coal is 4 megajoules, I think. So 200 times 4 is 800 megajoules. So we're pushing enough coal for that doesn't seem right for 800. Really? Even conservatively. Call it 3 and 2. Call it 5. Call it 6 total. So 6 total is 180. 180 times 4. 720. So we're pushing 720 megajoules into our power plants. So we should be able to maintain 350, 375-ish. All right. Well, the main consideration is, do we just belt? We already have a ton of material belted in, and setting up rails to go around these belts and, you know, all that nonsense doesn't sound all that fun. So I'm half tempted to get us to space and to get us to the Vulcans off the planet. Do it without trains. And we'll just bring trains in when we come back. Ascendant from Vulcanus with our new technology. We'll build trains then. Now we do need bots, obviously. So that means getting into blue science as quickly as possible. Once we're to blue science and we're building that, we're going to build the first component, which is the engine. Sulfur will be here shortly. Then it'll be a matter of building the red circuits and putting them together. Yeah, I think we do it this way. And in fact, we're going to kind of curl around a little bit, so as not to interfere with this mine. This area is all open. Plenty of space. Yeah, plenty of space up in here. Blue science. Yeah, I mean, these are the kinds of things, kinds of decisions you wouldn't have to think at all about in the base game, or in a non research multiplier run, you would not have to think about whether or not you set up trains prior to leaving for Vulcanus, or like, you know what I mean? There's no real consideration. You just set up trains. But setting up trains in my case is a bigger undertaking than it sounds like. It means replacing all this belting, picking it all up, which I can do by hand. You know, like if we're gonna majorly restructure things, I want bots so that I can set them a task of deconstructing something, and then I can go off and do something else. Excuse me. Pardon me. No, that's not great into the microphone. Yeah, so I'd much rather make the transition to trains after I have bots. Get some draw from this mine. If we do it this way, we leech off military sciences resources. We still need to set up more, but we have to set up less. Probably use that oil. Right now it's just temporarily feeding this defense line. Alright, well, let's get to work. Talk about analysis paralysis, you know. Finish that one. We're going to make a list of things we need to do before we leave the planet. So if you look, our evolution is 85%. At 90%, behemoth biters start to spawn. Behemoth biters will eventually destroy our stuff. Now, with the 2 damage upgrades to flames, and, you know, maybe we'll get, before we leave the planet, maybe we'll get 1 or 2 damage upgrades for the bullets. Some of the base ones, not the infinite text. Even with all that, we're going to be tearing through ammo. And we'll need ways for walls to be repaired, defenses to be repaired before we leave. So, finishing defenses includes finishing the flame defenses. Where did that do it? Alright. Building robot network. Network. I think that's it for finishing defenses. Yeah, because that the robot. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, that's new task. Another thing we need to do before we leave the planet is we said research. We're not gonna have a hand cannon, no. We'll set up blue science. This one is leech off. Leech off of military science resources. Set up additional iron mines. Set up additional copper mines. Set up oil field. That's not a question mark thing, it needs to be done. Base-wide robot. Robot network. I think that's pretty good for now. Can't think of anything else we had to do. go work on some wall. Oh yeah. Let's go get more. Do we do some landfill before we... So one of the things that's just a strategy you can use if you ever decide to do something like this, or even in everyday life, if you're doing something that if you have tasks to do that you don't necessarily enjoy, but that need to get done anyway, is you just do them in increments. You don't let them pile up until it's the worst version of the task, and then you really don't want to do it. You do the task here and there, like I said, incrementally, and create a situation where you have a lot of variety in the things that you do, which keeps you, if not interested. Unfortunately, most adult tasks are not interesting by their nature. Can help with those of you who, I don't know if it's common trait of people who like Factorio, so I can't say that it's a given that you might know what I mean, but one of the things that I do is, in psychological parlance anyway, it's called novelty seeking. It's not an inherently bad trait, but it can lead to bad outcomes, poor behavior. So one of the things that helps me in doing tasks that I may not necessarily want to do is I do them in increments. So let's say, for instance, I don't like to do the dishes. They always seem to pile up. If I wait until they pile up and they're overflowing out of the sink and there's food stuck to them, then yeah, it's a shitty task. It's the worst version of that task. But if you instead do the dishes every evening after the meal, then what you get is, yes, it's the task that you don't like, but it's the least offensive version of it. It doesn't take... You're doing the least offensive version of it for the least amount of time, although it is more frequent. So it saves you from having to spend an hour doing the dishes because you let them pile up and it's just a mess. instead, maybe it takes 10 minutes across 5 days. That's 50 minutes instead of 60, so it's a percentage savings in overall time, but spent differently, and it can create the feeling of, it can combat some of the feeling of sameness that comes along with adult tasks, chores, you might call them. Things that are required for life, but that nearly no one actually enjoys doing. But this task here is a good example. I am going to need more space. I have walls set up. I have defenses. But enclosing yourself also restricts the amount of space you have with which to build. Luckily, if you've enclosed some bodies of water, it's easy enough to just claim those. It can be difficult to do in vanilla, especially if you're using like default resource settings, because stone tends to be one of the rarer resources on the map. Patches tend to be smaller. So getting enough stone, especially now that's 50 stone per landfill, it's kind of rough. Stone would be a real problem if I were using default resource settings. Yes. Well, for the military science build, you need 150 to make 15 per second. 15 military science per second. You need to mine 150 stone per second, which later in the game is surprisingly easy, but at this stage of the game, with the tech I have access to, it's rough. It's rough. Minutes until sulfur's done. And then how much is plastics? 200. Ugh. We're getting to the point in the playthrough where there will be times when I will continue to do some off-stream work, like some of the most boring stuff. There's a whole lot of boring stuff to do in 1000x Factorio run, but we'll try to avoid some of that on stream. But there will also be some AFK time to achieve researches, because the numbers will get high enough that there's just nothing more you can build, even though the scale of what you're building has to be ridiculous. You still end up with downtime where it's just researching an essential technology. Like right now, in order to really progress, I need to build blue science. So I want to get the bots in space. Raised rail is in there too, we need, right? Purple science. Ooh, that's tricky. Building at scale on novice. Purple science is rail. Productivity module and an electric furnace. Maybe we can build that. Maybe we can build that on Vulcanus. I've been toying with the idea of science, like about where you should put the production of certain sciences, because I don't think it's a given. At megabase levels, I don't know what the answer is, because there are some sciences that kind of make sense to produce on a planet where the basic resources are effectively free, iron and copper. Now, it is true that oil is not available on the planet. However, there is coal, and you can get quite a bit of oil products simply by feeding coal into the coal liquefaction process. You can get a surprising stream of oil products from coal liquefaction. Not the simple one. The simple one is very inefficient and will eat through coal very quickly. But the actual coal liquefaction recipe is, it has a productive feedback loop in it. And so if you can scale it big enough, you can really crank up the oil production. But I guess my thinking is, okay, so what sciences might it make sense to make on Vulcanus? I mean, red science is literally effectively free on Vulcanus. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Green science also free. Free except for the resources required to ship it. Because you will need to then ship it off planet, which means rocket fuel and rocket fuel blue circuits and low density structures. Low density structures you can make in huge quantity on Vulcanus pretty easily. I think for future planning purposes, let's just talk this out here. So, across our entire interplanetary logistics system, there are three things that we need, and we're going to need in fairly huge quantities, because, again, remember, the I'm not sure how throughput of what I'm talking about, I don't know how it's going to work. It's the first time I've had to deal with it at an interplanetary level. I never played I played some space exploration, got through a vulcanite planet and a cryo rod planet. Yeah, I think Bidlange was next. No, Iridite. I don't remember which one was next, but I had no actual scale in that game at that point, though. I was, you know, I wasn't mega basing. I mean, who mega bases space exploration except, you know, the wildest of the wild. 1000x research costs basically requires mega basing. So we're going to have to tackle the mega basing at interplanetary scales task. We're going to have to tackle it. I don't know what it looks like. I mean, obviously we're going to be, let's just use an arbitrary number, okay, just for kicks. If how much is the car? I am tired of running around. Because in order to get, so much like a train, a well-designed train unloading station or loading station, think of them as an entrance to pipe. And you're shoving things into that pipe. The throughput capacity, or the throughput potential, is pretty darn large. But you have to have it such that either you're overproducing and then letting the natural ebb and flow of a train system, letting it, you know, work its way through production lines. Because there's loading time, unloading time. Remove the, you know, I guess what I'm trying to get at. It's not a direct, it's not like a belt. It's not a direct connection between point A and point B. Okay, there is overhead in the form of time required to load the train, required to unload the train, and for the train to move across space to reach its destination. You know, not to mention other potential, if you build your system with interrupts, other potential interrupts to its regularly planned workings. So there is, so like I said, it's not a one-to-one relationship. But if you can manage to produce a train system where a train can finish unloading and the only downtime between the start of an unload by another train is merely it's waiting at a buffer station immediately prior to it. If you can get it such that it does that and you can keep it fed, like that's pretty much constant throughput. And how many belts can you push into a train car? I think you can, with stack inserters, I think you might be able to push belts worth of material into, into a train and out of a train. And if the only downtime is the time it takes for the current train to leave the unload station and the next train to pile in, then you basically have green belts worth of throughput from one train station. Okay. Now, the interplanetary logistics system, the space platforms, are just fancy trains in this game. Obviously, destinations are different, animations are different, but in the end, they are very, very similar. Their mechanisms for movement are different, for unloading, loading are different, so on and so forth. But in the end, they are just fancy trains. But one of the key differences between a train network and our interplanetary system is that there are more significant sort of like internal lag times built into the system because of unloading and loading. But because of how unloading and loading happen. With normal trains, it's just inserters, so it's just a matter of pulling stuff out, putting it on the belts, or vice versa. With space platforms, there's no direct connection, so it has to be done through these space capsules and the cargo bays. Now, even if we ignore that aspect of it, because that's going to be a marginal percentage of the latency, we'll call it, in the interplanetary logistics system. And it's one that can't be got around. I mean, you can increase the number of ports on the ship and rockets on the ground, and that will, and ports on the cargo bay on the ground and things like that. You can do those things to ensure a nice solid throughput. That I think is important. But there's travel time. It's 15,000, let's call it 15,000 kilometers. So if you could go 100 1,000, I don't think it's possible. I've seen people post about things that go 300, maybe. I know I had some ships that were pushing 260, 270. Let's just say, let's round it at 250. Uh, 250. Per second. So it takes 4 seconds could go 1,000. Say 15,000 or 150,000. 4 seconds to go 1,000. So 60 seconds. Could it be a minute? Only a minute? Is that right? That's not right. It takes longer than that. I had a ship that went to 70-ish. And it took longer than 60 seconds. Let's say it's 60 seconds. The unload, reload, load unload cycle takes, you can keep the load unload cycle down to 60 seconds. And it takes 60 seconds for a ship to get from point to point. And 2 ships could operate that system and keep throughput fairly constant. Then you're only limited by how much you can push out of the space platform onto the surface and out of the cargo bay. My initial ships, my Vulcanist ship, Gleba and Fulgora ships, were all required some waiting time at the destination. What you want is a ship that doesn't need that. A ship that once going can just go non-stop, you know what I mean? So yes, the question becomes, like, how many of those types of ships can you support? Let's say you need 2 per. Because you're going to be doing your researching here on Nautilus for sure, because the biolab requirement to be built here. The main question is just where you build each science. You're gonna have the various planet-specific sciences coming in. That's 6 ships flying non-stop, being filled by X number of rocket launches. I think science can be put in by the 1,000. So let's say you want to move, let's just pick 10,000 per trip. I think that's a low number. Unfortunately, in our case, that's a really low number. So 10,000 is 10 rockets to fire the science up. They all have a material cost. But if you're doing that every 60 seconds, that's 10 rockets every 60 seconds. But like I said, that 10,000 number is pretty low. Because we're going to be pushing, what kind of SPM are we going to be pushing? I mean, hopefully by that point we're at least at 1,800 per minute, so 30 per second. 30 per second, 1,800 per minute. I mean, 10,000 in a shipment can support that. 100%. Gives you more than 60 seconds. Just whatever number is being shipped in, it needs to give you more than 60 seconds worth. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the future and how we managed to push 1,800 science per minute from the other planets. I low-key think that Fulgora is going to be the hardest one because of the Holmium bottleneck. The other two sciences you can overcome purely by scale. You know, it's like, oh, you need 1,800 metallurgic science per second. Well, just scale up your tungsten production. I mean, that may not be easy, but you just scale. Gleba, the biological science, I think. In that case, scale. You just need more pentapodic production. You know. Now that comes with all kinds of caveats, and yeah, that can be tricky, but you just scale. And then the tricky part with that is the lack of a buffer. Now, my vanilla Space Age playthrough, I have a reliable science setup. I can run. I'm limited at the moment by all the planet sciences because I had them. Well, I'm limited by them because those are all my first builds. So I targeted 1.5 per second. So 90 per minute. I targeted 90 per minute for all my builds. So, but I can run 90 per minute non-stop without hiccup. I did it for quite a lot of the infinite text so far. But maintaining even 10 times that is different. And likely 20 times that at the very minimum. Almost there at the sulfur. Noise. Ran out of wall and flamers. Nice. I mean, we're almost done. We have a couple more there, and then so it's just sulfur's finally researched. It's just this wall here. These flamers. There's a blue shot. That's what first is going to come from. Flamers, wall. Start our uranium mining. Can't do anything with it yet, but we can start the mining. Because that'll actually give us... Where's the tech that you get by mining uranium? Where she be? Yeah. Right there. You get access to that immediately upon mining it. And then you mine it with sulfuric acid, which we now have access to, so we could... I mean, we need to start that. We will be moving on to... Yeah, we'll be moving on to nuclear as soon as we can. Oh yeah, pipe. Because we're going to go off and bring our oil up to connect. Have the pumps, just need these guys, take all we can, let's go. Ooh, that's true. We can take our objects. Stack of those. Stack of those. Stack of these. We had a couple pump jack ghosts out here. The lack of car is painful, even though I hate driving the car in Factorio. We are close, chemical science, when we get access to some of the personal equipment that we want, that we will want. Take a long walk out our pathway to the wall here. May need to double up turrets around the entire base. I'm just not doing it first thing here. Just for now, we'll start with a single line and see how that gets us. Pump there. Kicks. Just to start off our run here. Yeah, anyway, my concerns about the scale are really just because I've never had to deal with scale across planets using the mechanism of the space platforms. It will be a new experience for me. Really? The scan. Really? I used to use this in prior playthroughs. I've used this mod, or that uses this mod that was, because I don't think it ever got ported over to 2.0. But it's called Pole Ranger, and you could configure the reach and coverage of all the various power poles in the game. And I loved it because I hate how short the reach is for some of these things. thing that sucks about Thousand X in the context of the space age here is Cobrex processing being locked behind productivity science. That son of a bitch is so expensive. Yeah, just put it right there. We basically are we need Cobrex. Like, it's not like it's just something we want to have. No, we literally need it. There's nothing we can do about the fact that we need Cobrex. Because eventually, consider how long it's going to be until we have access to fusion power. And the insane power requirements we're going to have to produce what we're going to produce, we will need access to nuclear. And while yes, you just process more uranium and you can get enough to power one or two reactors probably, but it's not going to be able to produce enough to feed reactors on space platforms or reactors on other planets. So we need Cobrex. That means we need productivity science. The real question is, when do we go after it? And I think we go after it after Vulcanus, because the scale of our build shrinks significantly because of productivity from the foundry. We'll have access to the liquid, the molten iron recipe for producing steel. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll leave for space. Like in my vanilla space age playthrough, I didn't leave until I had nuclear. Had a pretty robust, like, laser and gun defense. Like, not that I actually needed it, because I cleared out enough enemies and my pollution footprint was small enough that I didn't ever actually have any issues. Only just an occasional expansion party. So this run's going to be different. We have to leave and go to another planet for more tech. I think I said it in a previous stream, but those free tech upgrades that you get at the other planets are fucking killer. You don't have to spend science packs to get them, and they are free bonuses, quote unquote, free bonuses to your overall productivity across across the board. Anything that you can make in a foundry, the minute you have foundries, anything that you can make in a foundry should be made in a foundry. Same with electromagnetic planets. And indeed the same with biochambers. The free productivity they give you is, again, a cost savings. Too much longer, but we're going to continue our journey to full flame coverage here. Yeah, so if we weren't doing 1000x, one of the things that is possible is you can, because you can gain access to some pretty heavy, fairly powerful tools for dealing with biters early in the game, before their evolution lets them catch up with your capabilities. And in 1000x, it's flipped on its head, basically. It's the exact opposite. Their evolution, even nerfed by time, as I've done, will far outstrip your ability to kill them, basically. And it's like, I have access to red ammo, and I just ran past the end of my oil pipe. It's funny. I have access to red ammo, but no damage upgrades. So it's base red ammo. And enough shots will take down behemoth biters. But it's each Maggie fire is resources, so your resource cost for defense starts to skyrocket because you can't stop producing, because you can't stop researching. There's just too much research to do. You know what I mean? Is there or up there? Put it up there. Yeah, but anyway, the scale problem we're gonna have to tackle is gonna be a really interesting one. I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed it in my normal Thousand X playthrough. The main issue is that you just run out of things to tackle. Whereas in Space Age, got other worlds to tackle, other things to do. The scale of the challenges that you must tackle are much larger, and therefore present you with a much longer timeline of puzzles to solve. But anyway, yeah, so for interplanetary logistics, you need three things. You need the blue circuits, you need LDS, low density structures, and you need rocket fuel. I think it does make sense to make... So we're going to be talking about scale, because the number of launches we're going to have to do is kind of nutty. Let's say it's 10 per minute, which isn't really a good accurate description of how many it's going to be, because it's going to be bursty. But for instance, I don't want to have to send anything to the other planets. Like, it is the end game, sort of, I guess, or my end strategy for... I don't want anything to have to come from Novice to the other planets. As far as Novice is concerned, the other planets are just there to provide things. That's the way I think we have to think about it. So, the most logical place for blue circuits to come from is obviously Fulgora. To provide blue circuits at a large scale, I mean, you're talking about huge amounts of scrap recycling. Huge amounts. What's the scrap? Let's look at Factoripedia. Fears on scrap. Where's that recipe? Used in that one. 2%. So for every 100 scrap, you'll get 2 processing units. And it takes 20 seconds to do 100. So you get one blue circuit for a single machine doing scrap recycling at 1 time speed. You get 2 processing units every 20 seconds. So 1 every 10 seconds. Six per minute. I mean, to reasonably supply the whole planetary logistics system with blue circuits, how many do you think you'd need? If that's 6 per minute, how much scrap recycling do you think you'd need to support? Yeah, so you could make an argument either way between blue circuits, I think, naturally come from Fulgora. In order to scale the in order to scale your science production on Fulgora, you're going to have to push gigantic quantities of scrap anyway, and that's just going to produce so many goddamn blue circuits that I'm not going to know what to, like, they're going to have to eventually, I mean, as is the strategy for Fulgora, you'll just, all the blue circuits we do not need, do not use, will be recycled into red circuits and green circuits. Rocket fuel, I mean, I think you could make an argument that rocket fuel could come from either Fulgora or Gleba. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen people's arguments that like any mass rocket fuel production should happen on Gleba because of I suppose it's probably right, because you get built-in productivity bonuses to the rocket fuel produced there. Yeah. ship plastic around. Yeah, I think you ship LDS around from Vulcanus, but Vulcanus needs. I mean, you can make plastic on Vulcanus, and I think you do that initially, but eventually Gleba is going to supply plastic to anybody who needs it. That's the way I see it. But yes, LDS comes from Vulcanus because free unlimited, as much as you can produce copper and iron products. That is technically true about Gleba as well, because with the iron and copper bacteria loops, you can produce a decent amount of ore. And then if you ship in calcite, you have the productivity from the liquid metal recipes. You can get away with it, but it makes way more sense. It does require shipping in the plastic, though, if you're going to do it at scale. Because you can make plastic on Vulcanus if you're using the full liquefaction recipe, not the quick one. You can produce quite a bit of plastic, but in order to make like megabase level of LDS, it makes far more sense to produce it on Vulcanus with plastic produced by biochambers on Gleba. Rocket fuel comes from Gleba. Blue circuits come from Fulgora. The fact that each product sort of fits coming from one of those places, just one of the planets, I think indicates that that's sort of what they intended if you're going to go to scale. Speed up our underground pipe production here. Yeah, we're almost there. Getting close. Yeah, this is something you would normally potentially do with bots, but we don't have that luxury. It's our pollution cloud. We shall see. We shall see. Once we start taking attacks. Yeah, we're only 4% away from behemoths. Behemoths are going to just soak up bullets. Especially since there's a whole long belt's worth of regular ammo out there. Yeah. Just gonna pour through that. We will have to significantly scale up ammo production at some point. We're gonna need probably at least a yellow belt's worth of red ammo per, well, not per, we need at least a yellow belt's worth of red ammo. We're gonna have other defenses. We will start using lasers at some point, because the variety in the defense will cut down on our ammo usage, which is important. We can't completely remove our ammo requirement, obviously, but we can make it better. Yeah, just thinking about future defenses. We will probably use Tesla turrets. Let's just put all the turrets in our thing here so we can take a quick look what defenses would be like. So the range on these is pretty significant. I mean, you could just plop one down right there. Doesn't really fit in the design though. Their range is similar to that of. I do kind of want them out front though, right? Rocket turrets can be back here though, because even back here behind, they reach nearly there. I think it'll be alright. Okay, let's get. Yeah, anyway, so, yeah, blue circuits from Fulgora, LDS from Vulcanus, and rocket fuel from Galila. I think that, yes, it will supply it here as well. I think, yeah, ultimately once the production on the other planets is functional, then I think this planet no longer does that. Because one thing that's we're not going to get away from at any point in this playthrough is a resource pressure, resource requirement pressure. Okay. It's not something you ever have to think about in a normal Factorio run. I mean, not never. You have to think about it. I mean, the whole idea of a rail world playthrough is sort of built off this idea. Because the veins are richer. You don't have to redo them as much. I mean, there's a reason that the Infinite Ores mod experience exists. Anything we can do to remove the resource pressure. Shit. Where are the fucking power poles? Damn it. That's annoying. Alright, give me a second. I want to grab a quick snack and a drink. West protein bar. Let's go take off this alternative. Is that one of my wall to be supplied by one oil field? So this guy comes off. Great. Alright, well, that's blueprints done for our wall defenses. We have wall defenses set up for all but this wall here on the left side of the base. So, off stream, I'll probably finish that up. We're gonna let plastics, advanced circuits, chemical science pack, we're gonna let that run. Try to get to a car or two to make things a little easier. Yeah, we'll do a few things. I do want warehouses. I gotta do concrete. We need concrete eventually anyways. That's what is used for rocket silos, so we don't need those. Anyway, yeah. So it's fun, talk some strategy. Please don't like and subscribe. I probably shouldn't be encouraged in doing this. But anyway, till next time.